This is Xbox's brand new $1,000 handheld, the ROG Xbox Ally X. I got my hands on it early, and after hours of testing, it's honestly insane. The performance, screen, and build quality are all amazing, but its biggest flaw might be a deal breaker for some. So in this video, I'm gonna show you exactly what's great about it, what kinda sucks, and whether it's actually worth $1,000. But let's get one huge thing out of the way first, because this device is closer to being a full-blown PC than just a console. Even on the back it says handheld console PC. How can it be a console and a PC at the same time? Well, just like a regular Xbox console, when you turn this thing on, you boot straight into the Xbox Big Picture mode. So you still get to instantly jump into some gaming. But you can also just swipe up and open Steam or even exit it all and use it like a regular Windows PC and watch Electron or something. And because this is a PC, you have full control over the device. Unlike Microsoft's own consoles, you can manually tweak in-game settings instead of only having presets. Something I've been wanting to see in an Xbox for the longest time, so you can actually play games exactly how you want to. Maybe you want to play Cyberpunk at 60 FPS with optimized settings, or maybe you want to play at 100+ with frame generation. And the customization isn't limited to in-game settings either. You can completely change how the entire device runs. You can change your FPS cap, screen resolution, power mode, and even your VRAM limit. And the best part is that even though this is a handheld PC, you still get that Xbox console optimization, because when you're not in the Windows desktop mode, it stops all non-essential Windows tasks to save you 2 GB of RAM. But it's not like you're gonna need those 2 GB anyways, as this thing comes with 24 GB of 8000 MHz RAM. And the other specs are just as impressive. This handheld is packing some seriously powerful and efficient specs, including the brand new Ryzen Z2 Extreme processor, which in short gives you Xbox Series S performance in a portable device that pulls 17 watts of power in performance mode, and up to 32 watts while plugged in with turbo mode enabled. And with 1 TB of storage, this little thing is gonna last for years. But performance is nothing without a great screen, and as you'd expect from a $1,000 gaming handheld, the screen is more than good to say the least. You're getting a full 1080p 120Hz 7-inch display, and despite being an IPS panel, this is about as good as you can expect from a screen that's not an OLED. The colors and contrast are pretty dang good, and with variable refresh rate, it's not gonna run the full 120Hz when you don't need it, so it helps even more with the battery life. Some people were disappointed that they went with an IPS screen, and it would have been great to get an OLED here. But this is why we unfortunately did not get an OLED screen.
An OLED with VRR right now draws significantly more power than the LCD that we're currently using on the Ally, and it costs more.
So fair enough, they can always make an OLED model in the future, but we'll see what the price ends up being. The real advantage, however, isn't just the high refresh rate panel itself, but the ability to actually use it. Take the Switch 2 for example. It's been months, and even though it has a 1080p 120Hz screen just like this, it still only has a handful of 120 FPS games. But with the Xbox Ally X, that high refresh experience is available to you immediately across your entire library from day one. From day zero actually, because it's still unreleased. So you're getting a screen that you can actually fully utilize here. You don't have to wait for Nintendo to, add YouTube to their console, because for some reason they still don't have YouTube. But that's besides the point. Beyond just the smoothness, the screen's responsiveness is also very important. This was a major concern of mine, as other handhelds like the Switch 2 have struggled with input delay. So outside of first-party games, I could not be bothered to use the Switch 2 over any other console. I do like the Switch 2 for what it is, but it's just not a good experience playing online games on that thing because of the 300 millisecond input delay. But on this Xbox, it feels responsive enough. The reason I say enough is because this is about the same feel in terms of input lag as the Xbox Series S. So if you're coming from a console, this will be a similar feel, but if you're coming from PC, you might just want to stick to playing single player games on the Xbox Ally X, at least in handheld mode. If you hook it up to a monitor though, the input delay is cut down by half. And at this point, yes, I would definitely say it feels better than the Series S, especially since you can uncap the FPS. This was the first time I could actually pull off double pop resets on a handheld. I wasn't planning to ever play ranked on something that wasn't my main PC, but now I have a valid option. And even while using Steam's remote play feature, the input delay I have while streaming from my PC to this handheld is still playable. And it's just another great option if you would rather be able to max out your settings and play at 120 FPS in every game. Because obviously this little thing is not going to be able to run 1080p 120Hz in every game without some crazy upscaling or frame generation. Something else that's crazy is the battery size. I mean, you would probably expect the battery to be pretty big because this is a very chunky boy, but with that 80 watt-hour battery, currently the biggest battery in any handheld console, I was able to play Doom Eternal at 1080p high settings for over 3 hours and still had a few percent to spare. And you could stretch this battery life even longer if you use some AI upscaling, turned off the RGB, the vibration, and all that other stuff. However, it doesn't matter how good the battery is if it's not comfortable to hold for a long period of time. So let's talk about the overall feel of the device. Aside from the build quality, which I already praised at the beginning of the video, the controls feel great. A huge part of their marketing push talks about how they took inspiration from the Xbox controller. And I mean, you can definitely see it. The grips are more vertical than diagonal for sure, but that's just how it's gonna be because it's significantly wider than your average controller. But the biggest difference between the regular Xbox controllers and the Xbox Ally X though are the triggers and bumpers. They are very flat and long in comparison, more similar to the original ROG Ally rather than any Xbox controller. And as someone who has mainly been using Xbox controllers for most of my life, I expected to despise the shape of these triggers and bumpers, but they actually feel pretty good. I also thought I would hate the dish style D-pad because I didn't like it on the series controllers, but this made me realize that the problem I had with the series controllers was how deep the D-pad was, not the actual shape. So now you get the benefit of easier diagonal input on the D-pad without the weird angles. My only real complaint is that these dedicated macro buttons at the back could have so easily been regular paddles and just more useful overall, because the way they're set up right now is as if you're not supposed to use them frequently. Obviously this is subjective, but I would have preferred having paddles instead. They're not intrusive, but they're easy to press. Even having both paddles and macro buttons at the same time would make sense too, because there's space for both. But again, my thoughts on the controls are always gonna be subjective. You might like something I don't like, I might like something you don't like, and that's completely fine. But with so many good things about the ROG Xbox Ally X, this brings us to my biggest problem with it. Everything I've said up until this point was positive, but this could make or break the product for you, and that one problem is the price. It is $999 US, almost double the regular Xbox Ally. Now, if you were already in the market for a handheld, you knew coming into this that the price was going to be at least $899 based on the competition. But at $999, it's not too difficult to pass on. So I guess the price makes sense, but not as much as the regular Xbox Ally. The ROG Xbox Ally Non-X comes in at a very reasonable price point of $599. So that begs the obvious question, why is the Ally X so much more expensive? Well, you get more RAM, faster and bigger storage, a better chip, a better battery, and some other premium features like the Thunderbolt 4 USB-C port that allows you to plug in a 5090 mobile. However, the raw performance of the base Ally is already about 80% of the way there, with the Ally X being between 20 to 30% faster for 67% more money. And if you play older or lighter games, or even prefer to stream games from your main PC at home, you might get all the value you'd get on the Ally X with the Ally base model. And with that, the Non-X would obviously be the better pick for you. But at the end of the day, the pre-orders for the more expensive models sold out within hours, while the base Ally is still available for pre-order. So clearly there is a huge demand for the highest end handhelds, and I can confidently say that I get the hype. Overall, this is an amazing product to me. Something else that's amazing is this video where I tested the world's fastest integrated graphics. So watch this video next.